Hello everybody, how are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to and welcome back to my channel, Book Time with Elvis, with me, Mark. And I didn't do any kind of preamble before that introduction, did I? But, it's nice to mix things up a little bit. So I've got a tag video for you today, and it's the Spring into Adventure tag created by my good friend, Randy Ray, the literate Texan. And it's part of the Spring into Adventure readathon or event that we've got going on at the moment through the months of April and May. It's a nice kind of run up to June on the Range, I suppose. And the hosts are myself, Randy Ray, Greg from Another Bibliophile Reads, Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics, Jim from Mystery Mayhem, Debs from Raina Reads This. Is that right? Raina Reads Stuff. Sorry, Debs. And Sean D. Stanfast from Sean D. Stanfast. And it's a tag with 10 prompts, all to do with adventure reading and I guess describing one's experiences with adventure reading. Now, this is quite difficult for me because I absolutely adore adventure, and when I'm asked about my favourite of anything, I could go on for hours and hours, but I'm not going to. Prompt number 1. What's your favourite adventure book? Well, like Jim from Mystery Mayhem, my favourite adventure book would have to be Treasure Island, and that's purely because I have such a long history with it. I have happy memories of it, and it was probably the first adventure book I was introduced to as a small child through a family friend. He used to read it to me, and then we used to watch the old film together with Robert Newton, and he would tell me stories that he made up as well, based around that, around the characters and things from Treasure Island. And he was an ex-Royal Navyman himself, so he was great at doing the pirate impressions and all that kind of stuff. So it has to be, for my money, Treasure Island is my favourite adventure book. Now, the next prompt is, what's the newest, most recently published adventure book you've read? And actually, it's a non-fiction work, and it's called River of the Gods by Candice Millard. And it's looking at the Speke and Burton exploration for the source of the Nile, along with their friendly guide, whose name escapes me at the moment. But that's the most recent book I read. I think it was published in 2021, maybe 2022. But I can be pretty safe in the knowledge that it's the most recent one, because I don't read a lot of recent adventure books. I couldn't see anything on Goodreads when I looked it up. Now, number 3, what's the oldest or earliest published adventure book you've read? Now, this has been an interesting one because I've seen people give answers of the Epic of Gilgamesh. If that counts, then that would be it. If it doesn't, then I would probably have to go the same route as route. Oh my God! Look at all the influence you Americans are having on me. The same route that Steve Donahue went, which is Xenophon's Anabasis, which is something I read last year. So if that's the earliest work of adventure that Steve owns up to reading, I think there's a good chance that it's probably technically the earliest published adventure work that I've read as well, if it is classified as adventure, which I think, as Steve says in his video, you can get away with that. Number 4, who's your favourite adventure book author? Now, this was an interesting one because I couldn't really, I couldn't decide because there are just so many. I was thinking Patrick O'Brien from the Aubrey Maturin series, George MacDonald Fraser from the Flashman series, which Greg mentioned in his video. Are fantastic authors. I could go with someone like Robert Louis Stevenson, of course, but I'm actually going to go with Sir Henry Rider Haggard, H. Rider Haggard, who's the author of She, which is the group read we're doing for this month in Spring into Adventure. And I think, again, I have a long history with Henry Rider Haggard, especially with King Solomon's Mines. And I think his influence on, if we take adventure in a narrower sense, which is this idea of really heading off into the unknown, the whole kind of Victorian exploration of Africa, looking for lost cities and this kind of thing. I think that you can't deny the effect that H. Rider Haggard had on later writers, including some very popular ones around at the moment on BookTube, like the Robert E. Howards or Edgar Rice Burroughs, and even Arthur Conan Doyle, I would say, with his Lost World book as well, because I think that's published something like 1912, if I remember rightly, whereas King Solomon's Mines goes back to the 1880s. And I've read quite a lot of the series of Alan Quatermain, and I just enjoy them. I mean, they're really rip-roaring boys' own adventure stuff, if I'm allowed to say that these days. Of course, terribly politically incorrect, but, so what? It is what it is, can't change it, and it doesn't detract from the story being fun, especially for a young boy. And that's how I found them. And although the group read we're doing of She is it's almost like reading it for the first time for me, because it's been so long since I've read it. I've only read it once, unlike King Solomon's Mines and others. So I will go with him. Number 5 there. What's your favourite film adaptation of an adventure book? Well, Steve said probably shouldn't go for the same one as your favourite book. But in my case, I think the film adaptation of Treasure Island 1950-51 film is a great adaptation. So I would be tempted to go with that. Although I would also say the Master and Commander Far Side of the World is a great adaptation in the spirit of the Aubrey Maturin books, and I enjoyed that too. So I will leave it with those two, if I'm allowed to get away with it. Number 6. Who's your favourite adventure book character? Well, again, I will punt for 2. One has to be Long John Silver. I mean, he's a wonderful character. Even without the legendary performance from Robert Newton in the film, I think just reading him in the book, he's just a great character. It's really hard to not say him from my perspective. And then if I was allowed a second one, it would be Alan Quatermain. I like him, even though he's not particularly heroic in his physique and things, and he's quite slight and all that kind of stuff. He's very adventurous, and I think that, of course, must be very important in your adventure book character as the lead character, probably. Number 7, do you prefer fiction or non-fiction adventure books? Honestly, no preference, really. I love both. Sometimes I can say that maybe I prefer a good non-fiction purely because that it's happened, and that's the amazing thing. I mean, anyone can kind of really imagine a scenario where things happen, but when you read something, like, I don't know, let's say South by Shackleton, or sorry, Elvis is sneezing away here. What's wrong? Oh dear, bless you. Dear. Oh my goodness, I might have to pause this. Hang on. Oh no, are we okay? Is it all out now? Yeah, sorry about that. So I think an amazing work of non-fiction, then I would probably take that as my preference. But otherwise, I have no real preference whatsoever with regards to which one I could pick up and read. Number 8, do you consider yourself adventurous? Why or why not? Well, I do, I suppose, for different reasons. I suppose, again, similar to if you watch Steve Donahue's video, I have similar thoughts to what he said about it all. I live in a country not my own. I spent the bulk of my life abroad. I've travelled quite a lot, although not in as an adventurous manner as Steve alluded to. But I still headed off to different countries to settle on my own and make a life for myself. I've done that a few times already. So I think that's pretty adventurous. And then, of course, there's the adventure that comes from reading widely. So I completely agree with what Steve said on that one. And number 9, what's your favourite genre to combine with the adventure genre? Well, I suppose maybe historical fiction, if I'm allowed to say that. I'm not a big fantasy fan. I'm not a big science fiction fan. So I guess historical fiction mixed with adventure would be good. Maybe, I think that would be the genre I would go for. Maybe some kind of war adventure. That's a tricky one, but I think that's what I'll probably end up going for, unless maybe mystery as well. I don't know, but it wouldn't be science fiction or fantasy. Sorry about that. And number 10, do you play or have you played adventure-themed games, video games, board games, tabletop RPGs, etc.? I have played. I did play on the old Nintendo. I guess the first experience I had was on these really old computers in the early to mid 80s, where we played things like the Oregon Trail, which I guess is an adventure game. I did play Legend of Zelda. I used to like playing the Civilization games, but I suppose they're not really adventure. They're more kind of history RPGs. In terms of tabletop games, not really. No. Anything like Dungeons and Dragons, no. I was far too cool for that kind of stuff. But I did used to love, I know it's not a game, but I did used to love reading the Choose Your Own Adventure books when I was a kid, which were kind of fun because we used to sit in groups and read them and then swap them and have a lot of fun doing that. Board games, maybe. There was a good game called Diamond that I used to play as a kid in Sweden, which was about kind of exploration in Africa. That was fun. And then Risk, I suppose, but again, it's a war game of world domination rather than adventure. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me there. So yeah, who can I tag? Well, I think I will tag, now forgive me if you've been tagged already, I will tag Bookless Pete, I will tag Roy Reads Anything, and I will also tag Roz from Scally Dangling About the Books. There we go. And of course, if you like this and want to do it, feel free to do so. Do take care, everybody. And thanks for watching. And thanks also, of course, to my wonderful patrons. Should you wish to join, you can do so. There's a link down below. And you can see what you can get for that. So take care, everybody, and see you all soon. All the best. Bye-bye.